We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on the Miami Dolphins defense against the Buffalo Bills, and it was, not the best performance from this unit, not really having the highest expectations for the defense going into the game, due to some of the injuries, and just like after the Cardinals game, I just feel like the defense just lacks playmakers right now. That's like the biggest problem. There was a few guys out there making some good plays, like overall though, like outside of like Ramsey, maybe Chop Robinson made some good plays. Outside of that, there was not too much going on. Like, Calais was solid. They actually stopped the run better. Like, surprisingly, the last 2 weeks, they were quite decent enough versus the run, at least. Not perfect versus Buffalo, but, like, good enough. I think there's Ramsey getting that pick. But I think the biggest problem for the defense right now is they're not getting a ton of pressure. Just, you don't have Phillips, you don't have Chubb, you don't have Sealer. So the way they're creating pressure is by giving different looks with blitzes, stunts. And when they get pressure that way, they've just struggled to like actually bring the QB down, staying disciplined. They're missing way too many tackles. So to me, I don't really have a problem with what the scheme was asking. I actually think they were put into a decent position and just weren't making plays pretty much across the board. Too many issues. A lot of people didn't really show up this time around, and I just think that's the situation they were put in. Just, not to use injuries as an excuse. It's just that's kind of what you're expecting at this point. With some of these tougher matchups going against teams with good quarterbacks, some good weapons like Buffalo, like Arizona. They're going to have a tough matchup next week versus the Rams. Outside of a few players, they just made some very dumb mistakes and, missed tackles. So, don't know. I mean, it will probably get a little bit better if you get some guys back like Sealer, Holland, potentially, if Chubb plays at any point in the season. It definitely could help because it feels like when they're not, and then the problem is when they do actually get some pressure, the secondary typically has some of its worst reps. So like the secondary being together with combined with the pass rush, which actually on the final drive was like the one it looked like they actually got some rush on Josh Allen. The secondary actually was in the right spot, and then they just had that penalty on Poyer, which was a big loss. Lots of former Bills that were costing the Dolphins in this game. Good work here actually by Buffalo. They did a really good job isolating linebackers in coverage with slot receivers, where they would just sit this down, find the soft spot. They have the tight end just clear out because they're having him matched up on Ramsey, and he's kind of playing as that seam defender. Looks like Dolphins split field look here, deep, potentially either tough to say whether it's quarters or cover two, based on how the corners are playing, but it looks more like a quarters coverage. I think, Ramsey's technically the flat defender, so they push him upfield vertically with the number 2, create this space where he pushes away from the linebacker, and it just gets Shakir going, and Shakir, very good slot receiver, very reliable, makes plays. One of the better plays in the game from the Dolphins defense actually to stop this. This was the run they lost on versus Kyler, but slightly different scenarios. I think Ogba just does a better job of beating this, crack block. Just great job getting upfield. Very similar situation. He just takes a better angle, better job of beating the blocks, and this time gets to Allen, who's, obviously very athletic, but not quite as quick as Kyler was, and Kyler was able to get that first down. So just big time play there. Sometimes this is the moments that the Dolphins defense needs right now, is just when you do get into those third down situations, someone has to make a play. It just didn't happen often enough. It was one time here from Ogba, one time Ramsey made a play, but even that one was kind of lucky because of the Bills receiver, dropping that. Chop, though, looked pretty good. I'll probably have a video out on Chop focusing on him because he actually got some pressure. He's got his first sack. Shout out to him. But even if you look at this, play action, creates a clean pocket. And I think the Dolphins, for the most part, did a good job staying over the top of stuff. Except here, they clearly had a misstep in coverage. It was it looks like they're trying to rotate into cover 3, but they motion this across. And Ramsey ends up taking the tight end on the vertical here. And then they just let this guy go. Thank God Josh Allen didn't see it. This would have been a walk-in touchdown if he throws this to Keon Coleman. Because looks like Poyer is probably seam flat. So I think Poyer should be carrying this farther. And then you got to hope that May is able to get from middle of the field over the top. But they just let that go. Thank God Josh Allen dumps it off underneath. But there was a potential touchdown right there that was missed. But they still were just getting checkdowns all game long. They were giving it to them. They were playing in a more bend-don't-break fashion. Which I definitely didn't mind for this game. But man, there was just too many scenarios like this where Josh Allen's able to escape. He gives literally 4 pump fakes. And then Kincaid just works across the field and finally gets open. Basically, at this point, kind of put into a tough spot here because May's pointing at for someone to take him because he's going to take this guy, and then but then these two guys, Brooks goes down to the running back, Walker takes here, and then it just leaves Kincaid. When your quarterback has this much time, I'm not blaming anyone in the secondary here. When the quarterback has that much time, it's going to be tough, and that just gets too many completions. Overall, running the ball, like, I think the run defense could have been a little bit better, but for what the run defense has been this year, I wasn't too mad with their performance in this game. They got gashed on this run a little bit, but the backup D-line, for the most part, has been doing a good job, like Deshaun Hand, Benito Jones. They've been stopping the run well, not getting too much as pass rush done, but I think, it's kind of where it's at. But they block this up well, outside zone. James Cook finds a cut back lane, and that happened a couple times in the game, but not too much. Didn't end up mattering because they got kind of lucky here that this was dropped. Bad drop by Keon Coleman. Good recovery here from Ramsey, though, to get that pick. Like, it's a good playmaking play to adjust, but Dolphins did get a little bit lucky. This is probably the luckiest. They got lucky a decent amount in the first half, actually, went like on some of these drives. They kind of need that for the rest of the season. Cam Smith definitely had some struggles in this game. I think the final drive is where he looked his best. He had some good reps, some decent reps, not completely perfect. Had give some catches, but he kept them underneath for very short gains. But here he gets a holding call on Matt Collins. He got 2 holding calls basically back to back. I think this first one, the second one was a clear holding. This one he's holding as well, but I think Collins is also committing offensive pass interference. So I think it's more of like them hand fighting, but they call it holding on Cam Smith on this one. So he's just got to be. I still think he needs more time. Still more opportunities. You can still see like his good reps. You can still see the obvious potential, but he just hasn't really had much playing time in the NFL level. He gets too handsy. That was kind of an issue in college. So hopefully that can be improved upon with some actual playing time. But just another opportunity where Josh Allen escapes the pocket. They give a nice look up front where they work this stunt. Walker shows like he's going to go to the tackle. It just gets Ogba like a free rush initially, but Josh Allen's able to sneak underneath and then escape out of it. No D tackle is able to pull him down here. Just unfortunate scenario where he's able to escape. Again, these are the ones that just hurt you over and over again, and he's able to run for a first down. Now, they did get very lucky on the next few plays because they ended up getting them to like 3rd and 30, but they got lucky with a couple holding calls. The first one was definitely not holding, like the one I'm not showing. It was an incomplete pass, so it would have just been, another play. It was definitely not holding. This one, I don't think was holding either, but I guess he was at least holding on to him a little bit, but his hands were inside the chest. But this should have been a Bills touchdown, in my opinion, from Josh Allen escaping the pocket again, just lacking some playmaking ability. And the worst part is, like, you have free runners on him. Ogba just gets, in this spot where he's free to the quarterback. He just does a little jump and gets taken out of the way. And then, Ramsey, or I can't tell who that is, but he's also jumping. I don't think that's Ramsey. But they just get taken out of the way. Yeah, it was Brooks. And then Campbell's trying to chase them down. It's just, when you get these, like, this is a good play call from Weaver. Like, you get him exactly where you want. You finally have a free runner to the quarterback a couple times, and he just instantly escapes the pocket and goes, for 20-plus yards. Got lucky that it ended up being a holding call. But, yeah, after that drive, they at least got to hold him to a field goal. A little bit lucky in that first half from the defense. Not so much in the second half. Didn't really luck out and, give a lot of points. Struggling to tackle, barely missed that play from Bowser. And then Shakir is just very good after the catch. Gets upfield. Brooks doesn't get that tackle. He falls forward. Tough play here from Kendall Fuller. Looks like Dolphins are playing man-to-man down in the red zone. They're communicating that motions across. He gets Hollins. It is a tough ask because he's outside leverage here versus Hollins, and he should, have that natural leverage advantage. But Fuller kind of has to work through Neal, gets stuck there. So he gets slowed down from, just a natural mesh. And Hollins just gets open on that crossing route. I think Fuller could have played it better, but sometimes you get slowed down by your own teammate because everything else was actually ended up getting covered up. I mean, I don't know what the heck Marcus May is doing. Marcus May had a rough game. So did Poyer. Most of the second, I would say outside of Ramsey, the whole secondary had a struggle game. I mean, it was tough to see. Like, I think overall Fuller's been pretty good, but that was not his best game and definitely not his best moment versus Buffalo. And this was the biggest turning point, I think, in the game. Defense was already starting to struggle and, was giving up whether points or just like a lot of movement, but they were bending and not breaking it. They were at least giving up slower drives, but this one was just like one of the first plays in a long touchdown. This can't happen. One, Dolphins go man-to-man, so there's clearly a miscommunication. Because if you look how everyone's lined up, Ramsey on Hollins, Anthony Walker on the tight end, looks like here matched up on 86, I think it's Boyer, and then we have Fuller matched up on this receiver. Then you have the middle field safety. Now this could be one of two things. Either Bowser is supposed to be man-to-man on this running back, 51 right here, and he does the wrong thing and they bring 5, or Brooks is supposed to be man-to-man. I just think the only thing is, to me, the reason I think it's Bowser is because this guy releases to his side, so Bowser should take him, and I've seen this happen before. And the reason I don't think it's Brooks, because Brooks doesn't look like he's trying to play man-to-man on anyone, and I think he's just like, they're playing one rat. And I've seen the Dolphins play one rat before, less likely playing one, just one, and then they're blitzing. So I think that's on Bowser. It could potentially be on Brooks as well, but I don't think you'd be asking Brooks to play middle of the field and then guard this running back. He'd probably be bumped up a little bit more. So he just gets left alone. And then I don't know what the heck this is from May. May not only misses a tackle, like poor tackling attempt. I don't know what he's trying to do, how he's playing it. Doesn't break down till super late. But he also plays it so, like, if you're not going to break down, at least be aggressive at him, just potentially slow him down enough for these guys to make a tackle. But, like, he plays it slow, but also doesn't break down until super late, and then misses the tackle on a cutback versus Ray Davis, who's not the most athletic guy. Like, he runs hard and he's tough to tackle, but he's not the most make you miss guy. He misses the tackle, but then also takes out Jordan Brooks in the process, so he couldn't clean it up. Just like, oh my god, yeah, just not making plays over and over again, man. Then here you get play action boot. Your whole defense shoots down. You look at Brooks. Brooks is taking himself out of the play. I think Brooks overall has been a pretty solid signing, but this was not a good game from him. Walker gets pulled down. Poyer also gets pulled down, but at least he's playing the flat. And then he's back across. Walker doesn't get enough depth. Coleman's open behind. It was just too easy for the Bills offense in this game, just overall. And then they get a third down look. You're in a good position. You actually cover up things pretty well. Like, look up across the board here. Things are covered up pretty well. Kincaid's taken away. Like, you might think Ty Johnson's open, but I think Brooks is able to close on this enough with the linebacker still in the way, so that's covered. This is covered with, Curtis Samuel on the back end. They pass that off pretty nicely. Safety play. It just looks like everything's covered up. It's just, what is Saran Neal doing? Saran Neal usually doesn't play, but he had to play in this game because because no Kohu, and they weren't going out there with Cam Smith every snap, and he just hugs him the whole way. I don't even know what you're trying to do here on Shakir. And he didn't even need to. Like, Shakir didn't even look like he was trying to really do anything crazy either. He just was sitting there. So just a pointless hold. They actually cover up quite well overall. Didn't really need to. They get at least somewhat of a pressure bringing for it. Forced Josh Allen to escape the pocket. And that would have held him to a field goal. Would have been a huge play. Also, good job by Fuller here. I think that's, Fuller right there to finish and not allow that catch if that was an actual play. It's just we hold for no reason. The two biggest penalties on the Dolphins defense in this game were both by former Bills, maybe double agents. And then this play, after that, I'm expecting them to score, but then when they score like this, it's just so heartbreaking. Josh Allen just makes a good play. They're on him. Marcus May actually makes a smart play to, watch the boot. Agba, they actually cover up things pretty well here. It's just Allen forces an escape, and he just throws this ball up. Such a dangerous throw, but it just ends up working out for a touchdown. Those are the plays where you live and die by it if you're Josh Allen sometimes. That can turn into turnovers this time, but unfortunately, it's one of those plays that turned into a touchdown, and wow, that sucks. Here's Chop Robinson's first sack. He had some pressures in this game. Here he gets a sack. Versus Deion Dawkins, who's a good player too. He still was using mostly speed to power in this game, but at least he was like not just straight running into guys. He was at least trying to sell some other things at times. Here he tries to attack the outside half. Sees the running back outside release, so then he just, boom, drops the power into him, pushes Dawkins back into Allen, and then is able to escape off of it. And just good work across the board here. They get in the throwing lane. They stay disciplined. Coverage on the back end was overall pretty good. And Chop's able to get a sack. He did have an offsides after this, but it didn't really matter in the context of the game because they just threw it deep anyways. And here's the final play to really show. After this, they gained some yards to get like in long field goal range, but I actually think overall the defense was fine after this. Like, they gave him some very short underneath passes and then some incompletions to give it a 61-yard field goal. But this is really where you lose the game. 3rd and 9. You bring some pressure. You actually were going to get to him. I can't tell. I think, yeah, Ramsey's blitzing. Looks like Ramsey was going to get there and get a hit on Josh Allen. So he has to throw it deep. Everything's covered up pretty well. Chops on the running back. You might have a dump off to the tight end, but you probably can tackle that before he gets there. This is covered up good enough on the back end. Jordan Brooks carrying a receiver. Good job, good job. And then Cam Smith has a good rep here. He gets isolated on Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman's trying to hit him with the double move. I think Cam Smith plays this rep actually really, really well. Opens up his hips. Is able to get enough hands on without being like a penalty there to, stay in the hip pocket. He's in a good spot. He throws the ball there. I think he's there in a decent enough spot. It did hit Coleman in the chest, but Coleman was going to drop this. Regardless of the hit, the ball was coming out. Unfortunately, Poyer, who goes middle of the field and then, spins back around, actually in the right spot, he just gets helmet to helmet, and then that's what loses you the game. And they kick a 61-yard field goal, a few plays after that. So you want to see more out of the Dolphins defense. There's opportunity there. They got, I would say, a little lucky in the first half. Like, the score could have been much worse, but there was also scenarios where they beat themselves with dumb penalties and give points like that and just didn't execute. Like, overall, I didn't really have a problem with the game plan. We'll see what their game plan is against the Rams, because really they've only been creating the Rams don't have a great offensive line. And really the only way the Dolphins have gotten a ton of pressure is bringing blitzes. But Stafford is quite good at beating the blitz by getting rid of the ball. But if you do get to Stafford, it is much easier to bring him down than, say, a Josh Allen or a Kyler, because he's not as mobile as those guys. So they should at least be able to bring Stafford to the ground if they get to him. Now, it'll be a little bit of a different battle, because I think he's better at getting rid of the ball than the other quarterbacks they face. The other quarterbacks are just much better at avoiding sacks. So it'll be an interesting battle to see if they match up decently. I think, as long as they can at least slow down the run enough and potentially get healthier, it'll be tough. But it sucks, because this was the best offensive performance the Dolphins have had against the Bills probably ever, at least in a very long time, and it just wasn't enough from very poor playmaking ability. So if usually like,